The wind howled through the jagged cliffs of Blackstone Pass, carrying with it the scent of salt and despair. Evelyn stood at the edge, her heart pounding like a drumbeat in her chest. Before her, the roaring sea churned violently, its waves lashing against the rocks. Behind her, a crumbling suspension bridge groaned under the strain of its cables, swaying dangerously in the storm. The cries of her daughters pierced the air, their voices trembling with fear and desperation. Evelyn's choice loomed before her, a decision no mother should ever have to make. It had started as a family trip to reconnect. Evelyn had wanted to bring her twin daughters, Ivy and Grace, to the cliffs where she and their father used to hike before he passed away. Blackstone Pass, with its breathtaking views and rugged beauty, held memories of happier times. But the weather turned unexpectedly treacherous, trapping them on the narrow, decrepit bridge as they tried to return to safety. A massive wave had slammed into the cliffside, snapping one of the main cables and leaving the bridge sagging precariously. With each passing second, the wooden planks beneath them cracked and splintered, threatening to give way entirely. Evelyn gripped the fraying rope railing as the storm raged around her. Ivy clung to her left arm, sobbing uncontrollably, her dark hair plastered to her face by the rain. Grace clutched her right hand, her green eyes wide with terror. Both girls were only 8 years old, identical in appearance, but so different in spirit. Ivy was the gentle, timid one, always seeking her mother's embrace, while Grace was bold and curious, often venturing where she shouldn't. Now, both were equally vulnerable, equally terrified, as they pleaded with Evelyn to save them.
Mommy, please.
Ivy whimpered, her voice barely audible over the wind.
Don't let me fall.
Grace's grip tightened.
We can all make it. We have to try, Mom.
She shouted, defiance flickering in her eyes, even in the face of death. Evelyn's mind raced, calculating the impossible odds. The bridge wouldn't hold 3 of them much longer. The gap to the other side was too wide for them all to leap together, and the icy waters below would surely claim anyone who fell. She had to make a choice. One daughter could live if the other stayed behind. A scream caught in her throat as the realization struck her like a dagger. Could she truly decide between her 2 children? Her thoughts spiraled as memories of their lives flooded her mind. Ivy, her sweet Ivy, who had cried when she accidentally stepped on an ant, who sang lullabies to stray cats and carried them home to care for them. Grace, her daring Grace, who climbed trees higher than Evelyn could bear to watch, who once stood up to a boy twice her size to defend Ivy when he teased her. Both daughters were pieces of Evelyn's soul, stitched together in the shape of her love. How could she break apart her heart and leave half of it to die?
Mom, hurry!
Grace shouted, her voice breaking as the bridge shuddered beneath their feet. Another plank snapped, plunging into the sea below. Evelyn's breath hitched. Her hands trembled as she whispered,
I'm so sorry, my loves.
Tears mingled with the rain as she made her choice, a choice that would haunt her forever. She turned to Ivy, cupping her daughter's pale, tear-streaked face.
Ivy, you have to let go.
She said, her voice quivering.
Climb back to the edge and wait for help.
Ivy's eyes widened, her sobs growing frantic.
No, don't leave me. Mommy, don't.
She begged, clinging to Evelyn's arm with a grip born of pure desperation. Evelyn's chest tightened, but she knew she couldn't waver.
Ivy, listen to me.
She said firmly, though her heart was breaking.
You're brave, my little girl. You can do this. I need you to trust me.
Mom!
Grace cried, her voice filled with panic.
She can't make it back. Don't make her go.
I have no choice.
Evelyn screamed, her anguish erupting like thunder. Her hands pried Ivy's fingers loose, her heart shattering with each sob that escaped her daughter's lips. Ivy stumbled back toward the crumbling edge of the cliff, her cries echoing in the storm. Evelyn turned to Grace, pulling her close.
Hold on to me.
She said, her voice raw. Grace nodded, though her tears fell just as heavily. Together, they braced themselves and leapt toward the other side as the bridge groaned one final time and collapsed into the sea. They landed hard on the rocky ledge, the impact jarring every bone in Evelyn's body. She clutched Grace tightly, unwilling to let go even as the storm raged around them. But when she turned back to the cliffs, her heart dropped. Ivy stood alone on the other side, her small frame trembling in the rain. The distance between them was insurmountable, the remains of the bridge now nothing but debris floating in the churning waters below.
Ivy,
Evelyn screamed, her voice raw with desperation.
stay there. I'll come back for you.
But Ivy shook her head, her sobs audible even over the storm. The ground beneath her feet crumbled further, the edge eroding with every passing second. Evelyn scrambled to her feet, searching for a way to reach her daughter, but there was nothing, no rope, no bridge, no path. Helplessness clawed at her chest as she watched Ivy's fragile form teeter on the brink.
I love you, Mommy.
Ivy whispered, her voice carrying across the void like a ghost. And then, with one final crack of the earth, she was gone, swallowed by the waves below. Evelyn's scream pierced the storm, a sound of raw, unrelenting grief. She collapsed onto the rocks, clutching Grace, as if holding her tighter might somehow bring Ivy back. The storm eventually subsided, but Evelyn's anguish remained, an unending tempest in her heart. She had made the choice, but the price was unbearable. Ivy's laughter, her songs, her gentle spirit, all of it was lost to the sea, leaving an emptiness that no time or words could ever fill. For years to come, Evelyn would relive that moment, her mind trapped in an endless loop of guilt and despair. Grace grew older, carrying the weight of survival on her shoulders, her relationship with her mother strained by the shadow of their shared tragedy. The cliffs of Blackstone Pass remained unchanged, a silent witness to the sacrifice that had been made. And though Evelyn continued to live, a part of her remained frozen on that bridge, torn between two daughters and a choice that could never be undone.